Hey there. Have you felt a sense of disorientation lately? The feeling that the world is shifting in multiple directions at once. I feel it too. AI is advancing faster than plans can keep up. Trade, geopolitics, and institutions are being reshaped in real time. Careers, industries, and assumptions that once seemed stable now feel less certain. There's this uneasy sense that the map you were given no longer fully matches the terrain. This kind of uncertainty feels more like being in a heavy fog. You can see through enough to take the next step, but not enough to plan 10 steps ahead. The horizon is blurred, familiar landmarks fade, progress feels slower, more deliberate, more intentional. Moments like this invite a choice. Some people pause and wait for the fog to clear. Others rush forward, hoping to get out and ahead of the fog. But I believe the most effective navigators do something different. They commit to a direction, move carefully, and stay open to small course corrections as new information appears. This episode is about navigating in that fog, about what to hold on to when the future feels structurally unclear, and why periods like this, when visibility is low and confidence is tested, often create the greatest opportunities for the ones who know how to move with intention. When the fog rolls in, standing still can feel comforting, yet it is thoughtful movement guided by direction and awareness that will eventually carry you through and set you up well for what's to come. Welcome back to the Strategic Thinker, or TST for short. If you're a regular listener, thank you. Your presence and curiosity continue to shape this community. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you found us. TST is a sanctuary for your mind, a calm space away from the noise where you can slow down, think deeply, and reset your direction. Every conversation here is designed to help you approach life, work, and decisions with more intention and clarity. I'm Alan, your host. Let's dive in. When we look back in history, there were moments like this, even if they feel uniquely intense when we are living through them. Every era experiences periods where the future becomes harder to read, where familiar patterns stop working, and where long-held assumptions begin to loosen. What is different today is the speed and the layering of this change. Technology is evolving faster than social norms can adapt. Economic systems are adjusting while geopolitical tensions reshape trade and alliances. AI is no longer a distant concept, but a daily presence, quietly influencing decisions, workflows, and expectations. When multiple shifts happen at once, uncertainty multiplies. It starts to feel less like a temporary state and more like a permanent condition. This is where many people search for greater certainty, clearer forecasts, more detailed plans, predictions that promise more stability. But uncertainty has always been part of the human experience. What changes is our tolerance for it and the mindset we bring to it. Think again about navigating in a fog. When visibility drops, you don't throw away your compass. You don't wait indefinitely for the fog to clear. You don't move recklessly just to feel progress. You adjust how you move. You shorten your horizon. You pay closer attention to feedback. You rely less on prediction and more on the surrounding visible to you. This is where mindset matters more than plans. This is about choosing how you relate to uncertainty while moving forward. I believe periods of elevated uncertainty often creates elevated number of opportunities as well. New paths open because old ones are no longer working. New ideas can gain traction because previous assumptions are no longer valid. New leaders emerge because some adapted better to this new world. Operating in the fog simply means you have to make changes to adapt to the new situation. And in environments like this, Progress belongs to those who know how to hold the direction lightly, move thoughtfully, and remain open to learning along the way. With that in mind, let's move into how this shows up in real life before we zoom in on the key ideas that help guide movement when the future feels particularly unclear. Kind of thinking usually shows up quietly. It shows up when something doesn't feel wrong, but it doesn't feel right either. When a role still makes sense on paper, but your energy feels different. When a plan that once felt solid now feels a little out of step with the world around it. And when an idea keeps resurfacing even though you just can't quite see how it plays out yet. In moments like this, it's very human to wait for things to settle, to wait for that fog to clear a little so the next step feels obvious. From my experience, that moment rarely arrives on its own. What helps most is uncertainty, because the only certainty is constant change. What helps is having a good sense of direction. Imagine moving through fog. You don't need to see the entire road ahead, you just need to know which way you are generally heading and take the next careful step. That's how I think about a strategic mindset in uncertain times. You commit to a direction even when the picture isn't complete. You move thoughtfully rather than rushing. You stay open to adjusting the course as you learn more. This is also where opportunity often hides. When many people pause or hesitate, space opens up. When old paths stop working, new ones will quietly appear. When future feels unclear, creativity actually has more room to move. The people who navigate this well tend to do a few simple things. They keep moving, even if slowly. They pay attention to what's changing. They stay curious rather than frozen. With that as the foundation, we can now look at a few ideas that make this mindset practical. These ideas are about navigating well when the view ahead isn't clear. Let's explore them together. Sometimes I wish I can predict the future, but the future is always unknown. So when the future feels especially unclear, the instinct is to look for a better plan. Something with more information, something that provides more certainty, and more proof that the next step is going to work. In reality, what helps most is not a detailed plan. It's simply the sense of direction. So the sense of direction answers this key question. Where am I trying to go? Just like navigating in a fog, you don't need a perfect map. You just need a bearing. It gives you a way to decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It helps you say yes to some paths and no to others, even when outcomes are still unclear. For some people, that direction comes from a personal vision. A vision of the kind of life, work, or contribution they want to grow into. For others, it begins by borrowing someone else's vision. There is no shame in that. Sometimes the clearest way forward is to study someone else's path and ask, what about this resonates with me? What feels aligned? What would I want to adapt rather than copy? Most of us do this unconsciously. We notice founders, artists, leaders, or thinkers whose choices make sense to us. We don't want their life. We want the principles behind it. And that's often where the direction begins. The direction gives you something to navigate by while remaining flexible. You can hold the direction and still take detours. You can commit to a heading and still adjust your route. You can move forward carefully without needing full visibility. In times of elevated uncertainty, waiting for that perfect opportunity often leads to standing still. Direction allows movement without excessive recklessness. From there, planning becomes possible. You can select a series of thoughtful steps guided by where you are heading and what you are seeing. Once you have direction, the fog becomes more manageable. You stop spending excess energy in trying to see further ahead. You can focus on the next stretch of road you can see. That simple shift alone changes how uncertainty feels. And with that foundation in place, we can look at the next idea, how to move inside the fog without rushing or drifting. Once you have a sense of direction, the next challenge appears. How do you actually move when visibility is limited? This is where many people get stuck. Some rush forward, hoping speed will compensate for uncertainty. Others slow down so much that movement nearly stops. And some drift, reacting to whatever appears next without a real sense of choice. There's another way, moving deliberately. You advance far enough to learn, but not so far that one step locks you into something you cannot adjust. Think about how you drive in low visibility. You ease off the accelerator, you stay alert, you pay closer attention to feedback from the road, you do not stop altogether. And you do not floor it either. That same principle applies here. In times of elevated uncertainty, it's less about committing to one big move, but more about designing a series of small, intelligent steps. Steps that will give you information. Steps that will keep your options open. Steps that let you recalibrate as the landscape reveals itself. Steps that do not close the door behind you. Each step answers a simple question. What can I learn from moving a little further in this direction? Sometimes that step looks like a conversation. Sometimes it looks like a short experiment. And sometimes it's building a skill before making a leap. The goal is opportunities to learn about the unknown. The goal is feedback. This feedback helps you distinguish obstacles from illusions. It tells you whether the direction still feels right. This kind of movement builds confidence quietly because you are actively engaged with reality rather than imagining it from a distance. Over time, even if the fog does not disappear, you become better at navigating with it. Your judgment sharpens. Your tolerance for uncertainty grows. Your decision feels steadier even when the answer remains incomplete. This is how progress actually happens in uncertain times. And once you understand how to move this way, uncertainty starts to feel less like a threat and more like an opportunity. From here, we can look at what helps you stay balanced while doing this over time, how to remain open to detours without losing your direction. As you move through the fog, something else begins to happen. You start to notice things you could not see before. A time of elevated uncertainty sometimes reveals side paths that were invisible in clear weather, or unless we slow down. New ideas, new connections, new possibilities that only appear once the old path is no longer guaranteed. This is where many people misread this challenge. They see it only as a disruption. Yet, disruption like this often carries opportunities on its back. When systems shift, gaps open. When assumptions break, creativity can take its place. When old rules loosen, new combinations become possible. Detours are just part of this process. A detour is information. It tells you something about the terrain you are actually in, not the one you were expecting to be in. The key is in how you relate to detours like this. When you hold direction lightly, detours become exploration rather than distraction. You stay oriented, but you remain open. You can ask, is this helping me move closer to the kind of future I'm aiming for? Instead of reacting from fear or urgency. This is where optimism truly shines. Optimism here is the belief that movement creates options. It is trusting that learning compounds even when outcomes are not immediate. It is knowing that elevated uncertainty often comes with elevated opportunity, precisely because fewer people feel comfortable moving. Those who stay engaged during these periods tend to see things earlier. They build skills sooner. They form relationships while others wait. They position themselves quietly while the fog is still heavy. A word of caution here. Staying open does not mean chasing everything. It means slowing down and noticing more. You might discover a detour that reshapes your direction slightly, or a detour that deepens your commitment. Either way, you gain signal instead of standing still. Over time, this creates a powerful rhythm. Direction that gives you orientation, movement that gives you feedback, and detours that will give you insight. Together, they create a dynamic environment rather than a barrier. Once you see uncertainty this way, fear slowly disappears. The fog is still there, but you are no longer waiting for it to clear. You are learning how to navigate inside it. From here, we can bring these ideas together and talk about what this mindset really offers in times like this. Here's today's insight. In times of elevated uncertainty, this is especially true. Being in a fog does not mean you're lost. When visibility drops, direction matters more than precision. Small thoughtful steps matter more than perfect plans, and optimism matters more than fear. Remember, progress in fog is still progress. Those who wait for certainty often stay where they are. Those who move with direction discover paths that they could never have planned. And if the world feels unclear right now, remember this. You do not need a clear view of the destination. You need a direction, the courage to move, and the humility to adjust along the way. This is how momentum is built when the future refuses to reveal more of itself. Here's a question for you. What direction feels worth committing to even if the path is still unfolding? Let's wrap this up. The future has always been uncertain. I think the difference is how visible the uncertainty has become. Technology is moving faster. Economic and geopolitical shifts keeps layering on top of one another. Many of us feel like we are moving forward without a clear view of what lies ahead. Planning seems impossible. This episode was a reminder that it's the nature of the moment we are living in. When visibility drops, mindset matters more than prediction. Direction matters more than detail. And movement matters more than simply waiting. Remember, we don't need the fog to lift to take the next step. We just need a sense of where we're going, the discipline to move thoughtfully, and the openness to adjust as the path reveals itself. And we just need to remember that uncertain times creates opportunities. The people who make progress in moments like this are not the ones who rush or simply freeze. They're the ones who keep going. As you move into the days ahead, notice where you might be waiting for perfect conditions. Notice where a clearer sense of direction could unlock your next step. And notice how small thoughtful movement can rebuild momentum even when the road ahead is still forming. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to stay connected. You can join the Compass newsletter for reflections and mental models designed to help you think long-term and live with intention. You can sign up on our website at maisontst.com. As always, thank you for spending this time with me. You hold the power to shape your destiny. Strategic thinking is your compass. We will build an amazing future, one thoughtful decision at a time. Until next time, keep getting better every day.